Once I came out, it was no going back. And especially being lesbian and black and in a church, you know, it was difficult, but I stood my ground and I refused to let people intimidate me. Saratoga Springs is a small town after July and August. And I could always talk to my mother. She always told me come to her with anything, which I did. And everything was okay until the news started spreading around town that I was chasing the girls. So at that point, my mother was, of course, mortified. I was an only child. And she just decided that the best thing to do to cure, so-called cure, was to get married. So I got married at 14 years of age. And she signed the papers, and it was illegal in the state of New York. And even though I was married, the marriage was consummated, the marriage did get annulled before I was 15. So that was one hurdle. That was like, you know, you didn't answer your parents back in those days. And it was traumatic for me, but I was more scared of my mother than I was of the consequences. Now, for me, coming out was a whole thing. I was working for the state of New York during tax time. The woman that I was with at that time was always blackmailing me for my paycheck. And in the state, in those days, you only got paid twice a month. And so on this payday, she would always be there waiting to get my paycheck, and I'd give it to her. By this time, I had 2 children. My oldest son was an asthmatic, and he had been rushed out of school to Saratoga Hospital. They had notified me on the job that he was in those days in intensive care because he'd had an asthmatic attack. It was payday. When I got out of the office, I was getting in my car, getting ready to go back to Saratoga, I said to her, this is it. You're not getting another dime from me. My son is in the hospital. He's not expected to live, and I'm out of here. Well, I'll tell your boss on Monday. I said, great, you do that. So that Monday when I got into work, I told him that she was coming, and come to find out, to my, surprise and kind of joy, my supervisor was gay. So he said, oh, really? He said, well, we'll have something waiting for her when she gets to the gate. Sure enough, because she was on government property. She was arrested. So that was my coming out. And after that, I just never went back. So then 1969 came along. Judy Garland had died. And everybody had wanted to go to her wake at her funeral, which was uptown. So everybody got all dressed up, you know, drag kings, drag queens, all got dressed up in their finery, went uptown to Judy Garland's wake. Well, the heavens opened up, and it poured down rain on everybody and their finery. So they went back to the Stonewall Inn. And this was one of the times that the cops decided to pull one of their famous raids on the Stonewall Inn. But this night was the night that everybody said, enough was enough, and they weren't taking it anymore. And we were on our way to Providence when it came over the radio there was a disturbance in Greenwich Village. And they said, because, you know, in those days, they didn't mind calling them, the faggots and the bulldaggers are all out in the street. And I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds like something. So I came down, like I said, back from P-Town and got involved on Saturday night. And Sylvia Rivera and I, we were chased by the cops. Sylvia said, oh, honey, let's run in here. And there was a sign that said Gay Street. So we ran in Gay Street, but it was a cul-de-sac. And this cop, you know, he was coming at us, and he was getting ready to draw his gun. And he saw me, because in those days, I was a minister by that time, and I always wore my collar. And so he was chasing, and he looked at me, and seeing I was in this black suit and collar, his words were, oh, there's a faggot imitating a priest. So as he was coming toward me to draw his gun, that time they didn't have chains on the trash cans. And so I was able to duck down, grab these 2 trash can covers, and hit him upside the head. And me and Sylvia Rivera got away. And that was really the beginning. We didn't know it then, but that was the beginning of the gay rights movement.